Greetings, everyone. Today we have a very special interview with Geoffrey Hoppe, the founder of Crimson Circle. For me, the Crimson Circle was home. When I found it, I found home and I stopped the search. Everything makes sense now. For me, everything makes sense. So, Geoffrey, please introduce yourself to the Arab world.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's so good to be here with you on your show. And it's so good to be focusing on the Arab world with this. The message is so global. And that's one of the things that Linda, my dear wife, and I noticed right away when we started doing the Crimson Circle work is that whether we were in the US or South America, Korea, Europe, Africa, any place like that, it's such a simple universal message, and it all goes back to everything you need is actually within. And like I spent years searching for different answers, and I learned a lot of good stuff along the way, but yet it wasn't totally fulfilling. And it was really by coincidence that I ever started channeling. I never intended to do it, and suddenly I found myself in this role. And what I love about it is when I'm connecting with Adama Saint Germain, or used to be Tobias, that I learned so much from it. And I love, after we finish a session, I'm amazed at what I've learned as well. So I don't come from a spiritual or really much of a religious background. So all this is very new and very enlightening in so many ways.
Exactly. It's just amazing because there is no repeating. For me, I'm not that type of person that I need to go to the ancient wisdom and dig back in the past and try to find the secret of creation. So with Adamus, it's always expanding. And this is what I loved about it. And the most important thing is no agenda.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting, this work, and I've been doing it now for over 20 years, you're right, it's not about going into the past, although it's interesting once in a while to learn about some things, but the answers aren't back there. The answers are also not in the future. They're right here in the present moment. And once you stop all that searching and allow, that's a big word for Adamus, is allow, then you realize it always has been here. And then you realize the searching was kind of fun in a way, but also frustrating at times and difficult at times. So again, I've learned so much from it, and I know other people around the world have.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you when you are in this journey of looking outside for an answer, you simply cannot find it. And you get frustrated because nothing is really outside. It's all here within, and it's here in this now moment. So that is the big shift that happened to me when I really stopped the search and found this piece and the answer that I was looking for from outside. So
and there's almost a scary part of it when you start to realize it is already here within, and you go, who, me? I mean, how could I possibly have the answers? How could I possibly be, really a grand angel? And then you start realizing that how you've forgotten over the long period of time and how it really is here. It's very unsettling and beautiful at the same time. It's very deep, and it's very surprising. It's like it's all right here. And that's when you realize that, you don't need to follow a guru. You don't need to do all sorts of modalities and therapies. They're wonderful, but they're what Adamus calls macchio. They're distractions along the way. And I loved when he first started using that term because it explains so much. Macchio, a spiritual distraction. People get on the path from awakening, and then they start going into their realization, their what we also call mastery. And it's so easy to get distracted, by different modalities. And there's nothing wrong with those, but you try not to get distracted. Keep your focus on what Adamus calls the way, and all the answers are right there.
Exactly. Yeah. And since you mentioned the distraction part and the allowing thing, so I think this is the first question will pop up in the people's mind. What is allowing? Like allowing what exactly?
Right, right. And it's so simple, but then as you kind of pointed out, it's so complicated. And in its simplicity, it means you as a human, as a divine being, you are allowing your divinity. It's really not out there on another realm, but we put it outside of ourselves, kind of. But then you allow all that you are. Adamus is famous for saying, "I am that I am. I'm all that I am," and allowing means you're now letting that in from the other realms of yourself, your soul level, and allowing it into your human life. So you're kind of like opening the door and letting that in. Allowing isn't about saying, I allow other people to take advantage of me, or I allow bad things to happen. It's not. Allowing is a very personal thing, and it's allowing your own divinity to join with your humanity and allowing those to be together. And you can't think your way into it or plan it. You just allow it. You let it come to you.
Yeah, exactly. Here, maybe some people would think, as I used to think, if I'm allowing me, so like I'm going back to my original self, let's say, then why the hassle? Why the separation at the beginning? Like, why all of these and going into different lifetimes, experiencing all of this if I'm going to my original self? I think this is also an important point.
Sure. And you've had many, many lifetimes. Adama says typically you have about 1,000 lifetimes before you kind of start waking up and you say no more incarnations on the planet, no more going through karma. I'm done with all that. And when you allow, basically what happens is all of your past experiences, even experiences in this lifetime, are then brought by your soul to wisdom. So they go from being maybe memories or emotional wounds or happiness and joy. And eventually the soul brings that all to wisdom. And then what you are now allowing is that wisdom to come in, and you're not really going back to your origins. You're not going backwards. Now you've got your soul, and it's got now all the wisdom of all of your lifetimes, really, in essence, to answer the question that we had as angelic beings a long time ago: who am I?
Yeah.
And with the journey that we've had in the angelic realms before we ever came to Earth, and then all of our Earth lifetimes, we finally are coming to the answer of that question: who am I? And the answer is, I am that I am. So now, instead of the soul being, you could say, vacant of experience, vacant of expansion, now it's taken all the lifetimes, all of our angelic times, and brought those together. So it becomes a very mature soul. It's filled with wisdom, and that wisdom also includes things like love and compassion and truly experience. I mean, there's no, we cuss sometimes about our human experiences, but there's nothing like it. I mean, we come from other realms that are very open and expansive. We get really compressed and condensed here into this reality and get very focused. We forget about who we really were. We get very focused and then start going through our life experiences and totally forgetting who we are. But then finally one day coming to that awakening, remembering who we are. But now really, I would say I call it a mature soul. It's got this tremendous amount of wisdom and experience, and it's beautiful.
Exactly. So because some people, they think my soul knows everything already. My soul has the wisdom. But I always say, no, it was like before the experience, the soul was like a baby soul, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the experience, which the definition of Adamas, which is so beautiful about the wisdom, it's not about knowing the reason why this happened to me or the intelligence or whatever. It's about the feeling of the experience. That
yes,
made a huge shift for me. Like,
yeah,
wow, this is a totally different perspective about what is wisdom. It's the feeling, the essence, the sensation of the experience, which we never had before we experience
yeah.
it. Yeah, that
Well,
is
and in the wisdom also is, like you say, it's the feeling, it's the sensual part or the sentient part of the soul, and it doesn't really care about the details. It doesn't need to know what your name was in a past lifetime or anything like that. It's very, very just a feeling thing. Now, if you really want to dive in, you can actually go back and find out the name that you had in another lifetime or who you're married to. Quite frankly, what it's like to fall in love. And Adamus has said that love wasn't something that God or spirit knew until we experienced it here on this planet. And from that perspective, it makes you start wondering and feeling and thinking, oh my gosh, we are the experiential part of our soul, the human experiences. It didn't know all the answers. It never experienced what it was like to make love to another person or have a really good dinner at a restaurant.
yeah.
And through our experience as humans, the soul learns that, but doesn't hang on to the details or wounds or anything like that. It just feels the beauty of it.
Exactly. Like too much relief when Adamas says like the human aspect of yourself is not responsible about anything, only the experience itself. So we can relax and enjoy the experience itself.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that was a big one for me too. When Adamus first said that, I've had to shift all my thinking and
Right.
feelings. So I remember when he first said it, he said the human is not responsible for enlightenment. The human is only responsible for going through the experience of what it's like to go from being a regular human into an enlightened being. And I thought, well, that's weird. I always thought it was up to me and that I had to clear out my karma and figure out everything in my brain. And I could hear Adamus laughing. He said, no, no, no. It's truly the soul that desires the realization, the enlightenment. And the
Yeah.
human couldn't figure it out if it wanted to. The human would probably mess it up. But the human is responsible for experiencing it. And then he put it back on me or the audience and said, how do you as a human want to experience it? Do
Exactly.
you want suffering? Do you want it to be a lacking in abundance? Do you want it to be joyful and easy? And then it's really made me think, how do I want to do this? And the soul gives us free rein, because you can do it however you want. It's up to you how you want to experience your realization, but realization in itself is totally natural. That was the other point. If I'm sorry to be racing ahead here, but that to me was probably one of the most important teachings that I learned from Adamus, is coming to realization the fulfillment of our human journey on this planet is a natural process. Uh,
Mhm.
we as humans try to then structure it and come up with all these modalities and all these different things. And he goes, it's a natural process. You will always evolve. Every human on the earth at some point or the other will come to their realization.
Yeah. And some people they don't buy into this because they think they have to do something to reach
Exactly.
realization or
Right.
enlightenment. Like, I have to work on myself, I have to release this and do this and do that. And I'm still working
Suffer.
on it. Like
Yeah.
they are obsessed of the doing part. Like I have to do to earn it. Yeah.
Right, right. And oftentimes too, they because of the archetypical figures that we have for enlightened beings, for those who've been human and have now ascended, they all suffered in the past. And you go through the list of the ones who we consider are our true spiritual mentors. And suffering was such a part of their life, but it doesn't have to be. There are actually many ascended masters we don't know about that didn't go that path, but we still tend to think it's about suffering, and we have to make it hard on ourselves. And there's the old concept that you have to be poor in order to be enlightened. And I think the churches started that, and that's a bad one. And the fact is, you don't need to be. Now, also, you don't need a lot of worldly goods. You don't need to be rich to be enlightened, but why not do it with ease and grace and abundance and good health? I mean, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can finally relax and enjoy instead of keep working on something. And when you keep, like, for me, even when I started this journey, I remember I spent 1 year every week a session, releasing session. Not only in this life, I went back to past life and I have to release this and that. And then I said, this will never end. Like I will keep doing that, and I'm not enjoying my life. I have to dig and find something, trauma or whatever happened to me. I have to work on it. I have to read. Sometimes it's even hard for us, like, for example, to forgive someone or to forgive ourselves for something bad we did. And we are in this struggle. Like it's really a wheel of karma. We are stuck in it until we say no more.
No more. No more. Famous last words. Way back when I first started channeling Tobias many years ago, one of the first things he told me, it's actually somebody at a workshop raised their hand and said, Tobias, what's the most important thing we can do? What's the most important thing we should know? And he said, get out of your own way. In other words, stop interfering with a natural process. Choose how you want to go into realization, and then allow it. Mm-hmm. But we as humans, we like you say, you got to plan it and figure it out and go do a lot of processing and counseling and past life therapy and everything else. Those are okay to a point, because it starts to make you realize, boy, I've held on to a lot of garbage, a lot of junk. And it also energetically, it gets into the body, literally. But they're good for that initially, but then you can become obsessed with it and almost addicted to it, that you've got to be going to a different class every week to learn about your healing your inner child and healing your past lives and, all this stuff. And it's never ending until you finally say more, I am that I am.
Exactly. I've tried it, and then I was the one also who is doing these releasing or past life regression sessions for other people. And then I said, no, this is not my way. Like I choose the natural way, and it's the most beautiful way, because really, like, as you always say, the energy will balance itself. Like even if you have a garbage or you have a trauma, it will come to the surface to be balanced. You don't need to dig for it. Yeah.
You don't need to dig for it. It'll show its way to you. But then it's there. It comes up. It's there so you can release it, and not so it's like a ghost or a demon trying to make your life hell. But it's there to say, I bless that experience. I give it up to my soul for wisdom now.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Linda and I have been doing this for a long time now, and I love it. I mean, I couldn't think of anything I'd rather be doing. But along the way, we've met people who are, kind of invested in spirituality, New Age, and they're like, "Oh no, it's the easy way out. You can't just let go of your karma." And it's like, why not? And they're like, no, you have to work at it, and you got to suffer, and you got to take my classes and read my books and pay me for counseling. And it's like, okay, I think I'll go the natural way.
If you choose to.
Yeah.
Same thing happens to me when some people come to me and ask me how to release that or how to overcome this kind of trauma or fear. I tell them, choose to, and they say, that's it. I say, yeah, if you want to make it complicated, you can, but it's just a choice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's surprising they don't realize that, you can just choose it. And there's no God or angelic counsel sitting up there judging you. And that's the beauty also. It's only you. There's no other beings judging you. And it's almost easier sometimes to think that there's all these outside forces and you have to appease them and make them happy. But then you realize, oh, it's on me. When am I ready to let go of this stuff? When am I ready to finally have some happiness and peace in my life and to connect with my soul, my consciousness and light?
Yeah, exactly. And as we speak about letting go, one of my friends, she just asked me, she said, I want to, but how can I let go? Like, let's say, let go of resistance, let go of whatever sadness or pain they are holding into. For them, they are asking how to let go. Do you have like any perspective to show them the easy way of letting go?
Well, and what happens is it gets into the mind, and you've got unhappiness, or let's say a bad relationship, or you're no longer in, but it's, or you're in and it's still there, or the guilt about things you've done in the past. And they're very sticky, and they get into your mind, and it's that constant voice that's telling you, you're not worthy, you've done these bad things, and very, very sticky. So it's difficult sometimes to let go. It comes down to just saying, it's a really beautiful thing, saying, okay, I'm hanging on to this. I'm still traumatized by something, or I still feel bad about myself. I don't feel worthy of the light of my soul. And at that point, ask yourself, why am I still holding on to it? Because what purpose is it still serving to feel unworthy? And once you get into that and say, the reason why I still hold on to the fact that, I've done bad things, because I use that so I don't do more bad things. In other words, it's a constant nagging reminder, don't do bad things, hurting other people, for instance. So, you hold on to this so that you don't do it again. Or the other one is people have problems with abundance in their life, the money. And it's just energy. I mean, there's nothing good or bad about it. It's neither way, not good or bad. It depends how are you going to use it. But so many people deny themselves of abundance in their life, a car that works, a house that they can own. They don't feel worthy of it. And you have to go in and ask yourself, okay, why am I still holding on to that? And oftentimes it's a very old belief, maybe even past lives, that to be wealthy is to be ungodly, or money is corruption. And maybe you had a past life where you were rich and abusive, and now you go the other way and you say, okay, I'm going to be poor. And it's like, no, that doesn't work either. Just, you can let go of that, because you realize once you really connect with yourself that it's all your energy. And again, a huge concept I learned from Adamus was that energy is yours and it's there to serve you. It's really not trying to put you down. The energy is not universal, like there's a universal energy field and it belongs to everybody and you're just trying to get your little bite of it. And suddenly you realize, oh my gosh, it's my energy. It can serve me in abundance. I don't need to keep holding on to this old thing that, money will corrupt me, because you're too spiritually mature for that. Money's not going to corrupt you. Maybe it did in the past, but you're a lot wiser now.
Exactly.
So,
The wisdom is the key.
So to answer your question, the simple thing is, if there's something in your life that's still an issue, look into it. Why is it still, how is it still serving you? And then once you get that answer from yourself, then it's like, oh, I can release that now. I don't need to hold on to it.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That being said, the challenge in so much of this is other people also. we have families, we have friends, we have coworkers, people we deal with. It gets very messy and confusing because we tend to then include other people into the scope of our own realization. In other words, let's say you're a mother with teenage children, and it's like, well, I can't do realization right now because I got to take care of my kids. Or some of the battles that you have, in your mind and the problems in your life are about other people. You have to almost disregard them. I mean, not throw them out the door, but, focus on yourself and not about them or the implications to them or anything like that. And that's another very tough part is being there for yourself and not always trying to include everybody else.
Other people, I think this is a big issue for so many people. Let's say sometimes even when I look at other people, even if they are so totally different than me, I sometimes wonder, are they also my creation, my energy, an aspect of myself? Or who are they?
Yeah, I wonder that too. Well, now we get very metaphysical here. Ultimately, they're your creation. They're within your reality, but yet it's influenced by their soul. So their soul is not actually interconnected with yours. It's almost like casting a shadow of their soul and that particular lifetime into your energy. But everything you perceive is your energy.
Yeah.
But no other soul can take your soul. I mean, it just can't. No other soul can ever enslave you, but they can fool you into believing that they can do that, but they really can't. So ultimately, everything you perceive through your eyes and your mind is your reality, and that's a tough one. That would require a lot of discussion because people have a hard time with that concept. But you get to a certain point, you realize it is all my energy, and I'm perceiving what would be other people, but it's really me influenced by their soul.
Yeah, because the first question comes to their mind, is it your creation or my creation or a co-creation?
Yeah. But, I'll simplify that and say, other people play such an important role in our lives. I mean, hardly a day goes by when we aren't interacting with others. And other people can be big issues. Other people are ultimately one of the big reasons for our karma in the past. So, what do you do about the other people? Well, again, I got a very good lesson from Tobias many years ago. And he said the most important thing to do regarding others is to have total compassion. Well, I scratched my head and said, well, what is compassion? And he said, well, it's total acceptance. And he kind of dramatized it. I was in Europe one time, walking down the street, and I saw a beggar sitting kind of on the sidewalk near a shop. And my first reaction was to feel sorry for the beggar. Like, oh, the poor guy. I mean, look at him. He's like, has no food, no clothing. And all of a sudden, Tobias came in and kind of slapped me upside the head and said, that is not compassion. That is sorrow. Compassion would be if I had stopped where the beggar was and honored him and said, what a brilliant creation. I mean, man, you are doing begging really well, and honoring it and realizing he's choosing that. At some part of him, he is choosing to be that beggar. Otherwise, he would not be. Once I learned that very important lesson about compassion and then applied it to everyone is doing what at some level they're choosing they want to do for their life experience, even if it's being born with a physical deficiency, handicap, even if it's being born into a very bad family, any of that. None of it is an accident. It's not a chance. It's not just happening, or the universe doesn't really care. every soul is choosing their experience for them, and they can change it anytime they want. So with that understanding, I started applying that to people in my life, people I know and work with, and having compassion for them, not trying to change them, not honoring, no matter what, no matter if they're a rock, no matter if they're a beggar on the street, it didn't matter, but honoring their journey and stop trying to change them.
Exactly.
Really learned that. Then I started applying that same compassion to myself, start honoring me for my journey instead of thinking I did things wrong or messed up or anything like that. Stop judging myself. So way around to your question was that what can people do is to have compassion for others. Doesn't mean sorrow, it means honor, compassion, and then apply that to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And that will also make us to relax, stop trying to change ourselves, because so many people are obsessed with this. And I have to change. I have to be a better version of myself. For me, I always tell them it's not about changing, it's about expanding, like opening up to who you really are. It's not about changing the bad side of me to a light, because so many people that, yeah, I have a dark side of myself, I have to fight it and change myself and all of this. But I always tell them embrace it and get it integrated with the light instead of fighting the darkness.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. And you get almost obsessed with trying to perfect yourself, and you never can be. It was never designed for the human to be perfect, because otherwise we'd never leave.
Yeah.
And it was designed that we have experiences that we go through, and that's the beauty of it. But you're never going to perfect yourself, nor do I think as a human you want to. And you never could anyway. You'd spend hundreds of thousands of lifetimes trying to be perfect, and it's just, you can't.
Yeah, I remember when I took aspectology for the first time, it made a huge shift in my consciousness. Like when you start seeing the different aspects of yourself and you really feel compassion to all of who you are, because they are just an expression of your soul. Like it's similar to when you watch a movie and even the bad guy in the movie, you say, wow, what a nice act. It's the same, exactly.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. And then, people will get philosophical and say, well, there's evil in the world and there's all these bad people, and how can you just have compassion for them? But you start to realize that, again, they're just playing out their games, and ultimately there really isn't a light in the dark. Ultimately, there's only the soul, the I am. And we play an old game of light and dark. We always have to have the bad guy,
Yeah.
whether it's in sports, whether it's in politics, business, there's always the bad guy. And, this world, our planet is predicated on duality, opposing forces, light and dark, masculine, feminine. And at some point you start to realize, I'm neither light or dark. I am that I am.
Mm.
I am not masculine nor feminine anymore. I've married the two together.
Yeah.
And of course, me as Geoffrey, I have a male body and that, but ultimately I'm really not man or woman. It's just I am. And I think we're at a point of the planet right now that a lot of that concept of duality is starting to shift and change. We don't need duality to go through our experiences anymore. We move on beyond duality, and but that's one of the big challenges of being on the earth as a human being, is that the duality of everything.
Yeah, exactly. And the concept of oneness, like as beautifully Adamus explained it, it's your own oneness. It's not oneness with everyone.
Yes.
And yeah, exactly. When you unite all the different aspects of yourself, the duality part, and you really unite yourself, this is the real oneness. And I think this is the real thing that everyone tried to, even through religions or teachings or whatever, they, I feel sometimes they tried to reach to this point, but they didn't get it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole concept of oneness, boy, if you want to get Adamus, like very passionate, people talk about like a universal oneness. We are all one. He actually got thrown out of a conference one time in Switzerland because he got up on stage and said, no, it's not. You are your own one. You're integrated, your consciousness, your light, your energy, your soul. That is a oneness. But in terms of oneness, we are all one. Yeah, we're all humans, we all have angelic backgrounds, but you don't return to kind of a homogenous oneness where you lose all sense of your identity and yourself. You actually, from here, the next step is going on as a sovereign being, after you leave the planet.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes maybe one of the questions is, what is next? I think you get this question a lot.
Next for you, for me, for the planet.
Like, especially after having crossed. Okay, now we opened the gates between dimensions. We can receive our heaven here on earth. And then what is next for us?
Well, for the planet, it'll be interesting to watch through the rest of this year and then going far into the future. But we're coming to the point on this planet, there is enough light and consciousness from people, whether, you're Crimson Circle, whether you're just a very spiritual person on your own, whether you're a very religious person, there's power and pollution and all. We're done with that, and it just won't be tolerated. Now, you'll find that there's certain political figures, businesses that are going to try to hold on to their power, but they won't be able to. They'll make a lot of noise, they'll rattle a lot of sabers, but they just won't be able to. There's too much light, and that's the incredible thing. As you, me, others, we've chosen to stay on the planet here as embodied masters. We've chosen, even though we could leave now, and boy, take it easy, go into the other realms and just hang out. We said, we're going to stay here on the planet as realized beings and let our light radiate without agenda. We're not trying to change the world, but if you go into a room that's totally dark and you a match or a candle, it lightens it up, and now you can see what's there. It's the same thing. We bring the light to the planet, and then the others have to decide and choose what they want to do. But at least now they can see more potential. It's very, very important never to try to inflict our own personal ideas of what the world should look like, but rather to show the potentials. It would be like taking a very young child who only can see that one shelf in the pantry when they're hungry, and that's all. And it's like, no, lifting them up so they can see there's a lot of options here. You don't have to choose macaroni and cheese. You can choose soup. You can choose crackers, whatever you want. And it's exposing the other humans to so many more potentials.
Yeah, exactly. I remember once Adam said the classic Earth and the new Earth, they will not come together. They will not be. So how do you see it? Like, especially with the heaven cross, like so many people will choose to integrate all of who they are, and others will still stick to suffering and all of these stuff. So there gonna be separation, or like what exactly? Are we gonna raise the collective consciousness together?
Yeah, and what I see happening is that this beautiful Earth of ours, this planet, will evolve into much higher consciousness and light, to the point where we're not going to allow things like wars. I mean, wars are ridiculous. We're not going to allow inequity where some people don't have access to food or water. There's plenty of food on the planet. It's just not distributed properly. We're going to evolve to a point on the planet where religions don't tell us that we're sinners anymore, that religions and spiritual groups say that, no, you are divine, let that allow it to be. Yeah. And this planet will actually evolve in a really good way, but there are going to be those who don't want to see that. And they're going to spend many, many more lifetimes in duality, in darkness, in battle, and in suffering. So they'll almost be like they're going to create their own planet for themselves. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it'll be just like planet Earth, but it will no longer be together. So it's almost like one of the Earths will evolve and go slightly into a different dimension. The other will go by way of its power and its games. So it literally will kind of split.
Yeah.
And those who want to continue acting out with violence and war and darkness and that, will let them have it. They have their own playground now. Mm-hmm. But this Earth will evolve. Mother Earth is leaving, Gaia, many call her, and that's a soul being that's literally had the responsibility for helping to care for the planet. Now she can go because there's enough consciousness and enough people here that will take responsibility for the planet. We won't cut down rainforests and pollute the waters, and we have too much consciousness now on our planet.
Yeah.
And the others, they can take their planet and do what they want.
Although this sometimes makes me sad, like Gaia's leaving. I totally respect her choice, but I don't know. There is a sadness, and no, don't go.
Well, but actually, it's a really good sign. And she wasn't intended to be here forever. It was like she'll help create the life force energy on the planet. She'll create the nature for us to be in. She's responsible for the biological systems of the planet. And the fact that she's leaving is really good. It means we don't need that babysitter anymore. We're mature enough, and now she can go off into other parts of creation and do what she did here, create a beautiful environment for angelic beings to come and play.
Yeah, exactly. So literally since the 22nd of March, nothing from the outside changed for us, I think, for most of us. But within, we felt it, like we really felt like we are opening up to see the heaven on earth, because it's already here, but we didn't used to see it before. So I told my students and friends, like, since that day, I started to see it, literally. And we just need to expand our awareness and to be aware or realized of what is already here.
Right.
Yeah.
And to allow it. Heaven's Cross is interesting because it was a point of marking, what happens after that. And Adama said not much is going to happen on the planet on that day. There were certain astrological influences that came in the next day that were pretty huge, actually. But it was the beginning point. And for instance, what I've noticed in my life is just in the short time since Heaven's Cross, more clarity. I get these voices in my head, me talking to me, and suddenly they're a lot more clear, instead of being foggy. That's different than when I channel. That's a totally different thing. But just in my own personal life, more clarity and more simplicity. And so this is going to be happening to so many people around the world. And that in itself causes that next level to happen, where our light is shining even more brightly, and that no more tolerance to the people that are manipulating power and making other people suffer. And then I would say later this year, we're going to start seeing some huge external changes on the planet. in terms of everything from politics and economy. I would say that we're going to have some economic ups and downs, and not to panic. It's just part of letting go of the old ways.
Exactly.
And I truly believe that humans by nature are really good-hearted. People are not bad. They do desperate things when they get in tough situations, but Linda and I have traveled all around the world, met a lot of people, and humans are really good, but they just do dumb things once in a while, because they're in a tough situation. They don't know any better. So what I feel is going to happen on this planet over these next years and decades is this goodness of humanity is really going to start coming out, and we're going to run out the rascals, the ones who have been playing power games, the ones who they get wealthy at the expense of other people. Nothing wrong with being wealthy, but when you're depriving others or manipulating them, then it's out of balance. And I see this thing happening right now where it's very deep within us and with Heaven's Cross, and then it will start having an effect on the outside world.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I noticed after the Heaven Cross is, let's say, easier and quicker manifestation, even
Yes.
for the small things. Like sometimes you just think about something, or you feel you want something, you want to eat something, you want to drink something, or to get in touch with someone, and it's so much quicker and easier
Yeah.
manifestation.
Well, I
And
mean, and
that made me also a question, why some things, let's say desires or dreams or whatever you want to call it, they manifest immediately, which is
yeah.
our belief about heaven. Like when we imagine heaven, they used to tell us, in heaven, whatever you think about, you find it right away. So
Right.
so why some desires or dreams or goals are easier to manifest in the physical dimension and some are not?
Well, some we're more ready to have here. It's an interesting discussion because in the other realms, we dream or we act out, and we kind of go through like acting, and we play it out in the other realms, but then it's hard to bring some of those things into this realm for a variety of reasons. One is that we don't think we're worthy. So let's say you're dreaming in the other realms of a beautiful life with somebody you truly love, and you're abundant and you're healthy and everything, but back here as a human, you feel like unworthy. So you're not going to bring that one in with you. The other thing is that so often as humans, we limit our true passion and dreams. Somebody says, well, my passion is to win the lottery, or, somebody give me $1 million. And it's like, the soul, it doesn't interfere, but it's going, it's just not that important. There's part of us as humans that understands, that's not really what I'm looking for. And don't get distracted by doing that. Go for the big stuff. And I think at the core, people want to remember their relationship with their divinity, to know God once again, and to realize that God is right here. The things are distractions, and I think at some level people know it. Everybody wants to, not everybody, but people want to be rich. They want to be younger. They want to be healthier. They want to be smarter, and all the rest of that. Ultimately, a lot of those things just don't matter, and it's almost like our own divine guidance is saying, okay, we're not going to focus on that because there's something much, much bigger here.
So we push these things away sometimes unconsciously, because we feel that they are distraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or we're not worthy, or we're not worthy. You might dream about living a beautiful life with a good family and doing work you love to do, maybe helping others. But then if you don't feel worthy of it, or you say, well, I'm not smart enough, or I don't know how to do that, or I have to make myself a better person first, then it doesn't manifest. But once you just take a deep breath and you allow, then like you were talking about, the synchronicities just start happening. Things are there. They're there before you even know you want them. It's right.
Yeah. And one of the reasons also that came to me is 90% of our goals, desires involves other people. And
Yes.
that could be a block to manifestation because this is an agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're involving other people in your dreams, and it's really going to slow it down. And that's the important thing. And it's hard to remember to do, but dream for yourself. Dream for what you want, and also don't include the others and make it contingent on them to say, well, in order to be happy, my kids have to be nice kids, they have to get better grades in school. That's not important, but we do that. We as humans say, okay, it's contingent on all these other things.
Or waiting for the love of my life.
Right, my soulmate,
My soulmate.
Yeah. And Thomas isn't real big on that. He says, no, you don't have a soulmate. You are your own soulmate. Stop looking outside for this unfulfilled part of yourself.
But this is very interesting, like most of, even maybe included myself, we desire this deep love, although we know it's the self-love. We know it's within. But again, there is something like you desire to share this love with someone.
Yeah. Well, I think we really found love through other people in our journey here on this planet. Adama says that love was first experienced here on the planet Earth, no place else. But it was that deep passion for something or someone, and it came to be known as love, and just where you kind of go crazy and you just want to be with them, but ultimately was on the path to loving ourselves. Now that's a tough one. It's easier to love someone else, but now can you love yourself? And so many people on the spiritual path find themselves alone. They don't have a partner. They no longer, their kids are grown up. They no longer have a family. And that's so much because it's time now to, can you love yourself? That's a tough one.
Yeah, I know.
We can find a lot of reasons not to love ourselves. We can make long lists, but can you throw that list away and just love yourself?
Exactly. Sometimes I wonder why it's so hard for us just to accept and love ourselves. Why?
Yeah. Well, because we think we've done things wrong, or we've been told by religions that we're not worthy, we're sinners. We're told by other humans you're unlovable. So if you're unlovable to other people, how are you going to be lovable to yourself? And I'm sure you're familiar with our sexual energies class, in sexual energy school. It's really about coming back to being able to love yourself, and it's a tough one because you can find all the reasons not to it. It's easier. You wish just somebody would come along, some beautiful being, and you fall in love with them. But ultimately, it is about falling in love with yourself.
But it makes a lot of sense when you mentioned that, because we first experienced love with other.
Yes.
Here on Earth. That's why maybe we relate to love should be to other person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but it's all part of the experience of ultimately can you apply that to yourself? Can you love you?
Yeah. Because I think this is the ultimate goal of any relationship. Like even when we desire this love from someone, it's just because we want to see ourselves through their eyes. Like when they love us and they accept us the way we are, we can love and accept ourselves. So this is the ultimate goal of any relationship at the end.
It really is. And it's about, seeing yourself through the other's eyes as either masculine or feminine. And does this person approve or disapprove? And, so much of our judgment of ourselves, we seek through other people because Well, if people don't like you, you go, well, I'm not a likable person. If they don't love you, I'm not lovable. But there comes a point you get over all the rest of that and it's not about what they think or say. It's only about what you're feeling here. And that's tough to do.
Yeah. And talking about relationship, for me, I feel that this is the most complicated thing on earth.
Yes, it is.
Relationships.
Yeah. Relationships can be beautiful. Linda and I have been married for 46 years. I mean, and we met each other in fourth grade. You know, we started dating in high school, and we've been married for a long time. And you know, finding a good relationship is a blessing. We know so many people that have been divorced, you know, 2, 3, 4 times, and but even in a good relationship, it's ultimately about allowing yourself and loving yourself, even while you're in that loving another person. But it can be so beneficial to have that relationship, but so often it's a challenge also.
Exactly. Sometimes maybe one of the reasons that made us to choose a certain partner is to balance our own energy. If we have imbalances and we feel like we lack something, we need to get it from the other partner, or to get balance together.
Right.
But I think ultimately when we balance our own energy, we don't need that anymore.
Don't need it. Yeah, and so many relationships also are karmic. So you meet somebody, it's love at first sight, you know, oh, and I want to be with this person. And Adama says, be careful, because oftentimes it's just karmic from a past life. And there's the familiarity, there's the, you know, the feeling you've known each other forever, because you have. And then you go off and get married, and you realize at some point it's just karma, trying to work through that. There's nothing wrong with that, and you could still love a person, but beware of the karma, you know, and get it out of the way, let it go, to really have a great relationship. But he said, I forgot what it is, like 80-90% of all relationships are based on old karma. You come back together.
Exactly. Until we say no more.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny why we choose to come back with the same people.
Well, even families, Adama says that generally you come back with the same family that you have been traveling with through the lifetimes. He said, I forget what it was, like 95% of people come back to the same, not only the same family, the same community, you know, within what, 50 kilometers from where they were in the last lifetime. And it's kind of scary, because you realize you get into these patterns, the same people, the same spouse, you know, or loved ones, the same area, and you just keep coming back, trying to work through the old junk until you come to the point and say, no more. I'm going to free myself from this.
So it happens on a soul level. Let's say, as souls, we agree with each other. Oh, okay, we're going to go back and try to make it this time.
I wouldn't say it's a soul level, because the soul kind of is not telling you what to do. There's, you know, it's your human aspect, whether it's embodied on this physical planet or in between lifetimes, it's still kind of that your human spirit that's doing it. And that human spirit feels such a desire and a need, let's say when it dies in a past lifetime and things are unfulfilled. And then it's in the other realms, but it's a human without a physical body. It's a human spirit. And it's like, I got to get back there. I got to work out this issue. I got to protect my family. I just want to be back with my family. So you kind of rush back in for another incarnation. And the concept of in between lifetimes, that you go into these heavenly realms and you're in bliss and you plan your next lifetime. Adama says that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
You're now a non-physical, but yet human being in the other realms.
So what you mean is the human aspect doesn't even die when you die in this lifetime. It continues.
Yes.
And
The human spirit, the human persona, it's not like suddenly you die and you're transformed into this grand angel with super wisdom and everything else. Because then if you did, you probably never come back anyway. You know, you'd say, I'm done with that. So the soul doesn't interfere. And if that part of it, the soul, the human spirit, desires to come back, the soul won't interfere. Now, at some point when the human spirit or the human aspect says, I'm done with all this, you know, it's been 1,000 lifetimes. I learned what I'm going to learn. I want to stop suffering. I want to stop just going through lifetime after lifetime, repeating the same things. Then the soul will be there. And the soul is there to say, okay, now, buddy, you know, you say you're done. Let's start now preparing. And part of preparing is allowing more divinity into your life, more light, more consciousness. You start wrapping up all of your other lifetimes as well. See, because the other lifetimes really aren't in the past. They're kind of happening right now. So it's not just you, the human in this lifetime, that is wrapping it up. Now all of your other lifetimes are. So it's this mind-blowing
kind
of
way
a
I
domino.
used to look at it, like when we say the soul, or some people they call it the oversoul, sends different aspect of itself to experience different experiences and then collect the wisdom back to the soul. So the way I used to look at it, like this aspect, me in this lifetime, is different than the other aspect that is experiencing another lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you said something like spirit. So what do you mean by spirit?
So we have past lifetimes, but they're really kind of happening right now. You know, there's truly no time or space. So it's all unfolding. Adamus Saint Germain, in his last lifetime chronologically on the planet, was in the 18th century. So he died about 1794, I think. But yet he had another incarnation as Mark Twain that occurred in the late 1800s. And you go, well, but no, he had his last lifetime back then. Well, no, because there really is no time or space. So you could have past lifetimes happening in the future. And this is where it's like, oh, mind blowing. But the fact is, the important thing about this lifetime is this lifetime is very special because it's the one that allows realization, enlightenment. It's the one speaking on behalf of all the other lifetimes, past or future, that says, we're done. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to all become realized. So it's not just you in this lifetime being realized. All your other lifetimes are now going through it as well. It's this phenomenal metaphysics that occurs. And essentially all of your other lifetimes now are wrapping it up, and they're all starting to integrate with you and your soul now. And in the last remaining decades of your life here, you go to become an embodied master with full wisdom of all of your lifetimes, and now enjoying life on the planet. Exactly. It's huge when you consider the implications. When you finally say, no more, I'm done playing the old games of lifetimes and karma, and now it's time for me to reap the harvest. You planted the seeds, and the seeds of all your lifetimes have grown. It's now time to reap that right now. So when you say no more, it has huge implications. Yeah,
it was shocking for me when I was Adamus, his last lifetime should be Saint Germain, when he realized, and then he came back as Mark Twain, which is not a realized person. How come?
Right. Yeah, and it's because you suddenly realize that things are not linear, chronological, and it's really it's all occurring right now, and all of your other lifetimes are really kind of occurring in what he calls the present moment. And to the human mind, that's it's mind-boggling because we have to put everything into time and space. But when you start realizing, oh, okay, this gravity that holds everything together is now loosening up, not just physical, but psychic gravity. And you start to realize, I do have lives in the future that even after this realized life, but it's not really in the future.
Yeah, because when you look at it like, okay, Mark Twain already died before he realized. But if Saint Germain reached realization, then all his aspects, they come to realization, right? So when did he realize then? After leaving Earth?
Right. And you could go on,
Yeah.
and really twist your brain up. But the fact is that none of that kind of matters. The only thing matters right now really is, are you ready for your own realization? Are you ready to allow your divine nature, your soul, your wisdom into your human reality right now, walking in tandem together with your divinity, not for the sake of being younger or more famous or richer, but for the sake of fulfillment? And once you do that, then you find out all these other things that the human has desired, whether it's wealth, health, love, or any of the rest of that, they're just there. You don't work at it anymore. Your energy now is serving you, and all these things are there, and you don't even have to think about health. It's just there. You don't have to think about being abundant. It's just there. So even those words, healing, goes out of your vocabulary. There's no healing anymore. Everything is just there. And that's truly the description of an embodied master.
Exactly. One of the questions I was also wondering about sometimes, can we see one of, like, let's say, future aspects in the physical? Like
Yeah. You probably, I don't think you probably meet them, but you can perceive their presence. Yeah, I have that happen from time to time, and it's like, damn, who's that? And it's like, it's not like a truly physical object, but it's like I can sense that they're there, and it's like, whoa, me from the past or the future. However, I don't focus on it because it can be very distracting.
Yeah.
And I realize, no, all of it is really about me right now. And
Mhm.
it's nice to think about past lives and all the rest of that, and what was I in a past life or future life. But I tend to put those aside and realize it's about this moment right here with me.
Yeah, so that's why I believe, like, the different aspects of the self, they don't really live at the same timeline or whatever we want to call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The different lifetimes really aren't even aware of each other, even though it's all happening right now. They've been kind of segmented from each other, but that's starting to change now, particularly with Heaven's Cross. It brings more of a holistic awareness in right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, since I'm talking to you from the Arab world, sometimes I wonder why all of this trauma, wars, and this karma that will never end one day.
It will. And not just about the Arab world, but let's just say very religious cultures. In South America, you have a very strong Catholic influence into every part of people's lives. There's parts of the world that have very strong Jewish influences, and or Arab or Hindu or whatever it happens to be. And the genesis of the religions was really quite good. It was about bringing an understanding that there's more to life than just your mundane human life. There are other realms. There are heavens. There are, there's what people call God or gods. And the genesis, the beginning of the religions was really good. Dhamma says back in the times of Atlantis, there was no understanding of God. It wasn't even in consciousness. As a matter of fact, the Atlanteans really didn't even see the stars. They didn't have the consciousness. the concepts of religion came after the downfall of Atlantis, when humans now just started to come back to the surface of the earth. And they had more of an awareness. So they started to attribute things to outer things or beings, gods. And in the early days, even pre-Egyptian, they would create a god for everything. Yeah, so it got to be at the point there were tens of thousands of gods, and some religions still have that. And then along comes Abraham and says, nah, it's too confusing. I can't remember all these gods. I don't have enough time in the day to pray to all the gods. So let's consolidate. Let's call it one God. It just pile them all in together. And, which was a good thing, because it caused people to start thinking there is something higher. There's something beyond just our mundane human life. But as what happens, the beauty of the religions was overtaken by humanity or humans' greed and power. And now, the beauty of, like, the Gnostics, some of the original teachings in about 200-300 AD, that became controlled and turned into the Catholic Church. And with the church, all the rules and the regulations and the suffering and everything else that came with it. So religions still have a stronghold on people. I think with Heaven's Cross, with more light on the planet, people are going to start questioning it and saying, hang on a second, is that just a man's rule that was made up, that we have to pray, all the time, that we have to do this and that? They'll start rebelling against it, and they'll start saying, no, I want better answers. I want more conscious answers. And the religions, all of them, are going to have a hard time giving up that power. I mean, look what the Catholic Church is already going through. And I think it'll sweep the world in the next decade or so, that say no to these power religions that really don't focus on God and spirit. They focus on, you're bad humans, you should be punished, and they don't focus on the divine nature of humanity. And I think that's going to change rapidly across all religions.
Yeah, exactly. So, because of this agenda, like, let's say that we have born into them, and some people, they are still strongly holding into all of these beliefs and all of this anger that they have.
Right. Yeah.
So this
It's also, in a way, it's also the old power energy of the masculine, the male, which controlled the religions. And anytime you see overly strong masculine or male control of religion or spirituality, there's going to be problems, because first of all, the feminine energy is a lot more intuitive and a lot more spirit. And this old holding on to power, male dominated power, has got to change, and it will. And the religions are going to have a tough time, because it would be the very women in these religions that finally come to the forefront and say, no, we are all beings of God, and it's we all have the same rights, and just watch for it. Any place there's male dominated religions with a lot of rules, their walls are going to come down.
Yeah, exactly. Some people think, like, this area has a very bad or karmic energy, that's why these wars keeps happening in this area.
Yeah, and Linda and I have been to some of those areas, in particular in Jerusalem. We've been there a number of times, right in the center where you have 5 different religions, holding down their power. It was like going to the carnival, the circus. It was amazing, because they're all holding on so tight, and instead of having compassion and allowing, they're all fighting for their little piece of the pie. It was Linda had a hard time with being there. The energies were so strong, and it really affected her physically. I found it to be a trip. It's like, wow. I mean, here are people that are supposed to be on the leading edge of humanity, teaching others about God and about spirit. And yet they're the very ones that are inciting wars and hatred and non-acceptance. And that's all got to change now, particularly after Heaven's Cross. There's too much light on the planet to continue on that way.
So do you believe that the earth itself holds to certain energies?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and particularly, I can go to an old battlefield somewhere, whether it was a battle that was, 200 years old or 2000, and so often the energies are still there. And yet on the same token, we went to Stonehenge in England one time, and with a small group of people, and we went early in the morning before anybody else was there, and this was when you could still go into the stones and touch them and everything. And I was there, and I was like, wow, maybe there's something wrong with me, because I'm not feeling anything. I mean, I feel that it's chilly out this morning and I'm tired, because we got up so damn early, but I'm not feeling anything. And somebody else came up to me and said, what are you feeling? I said, nothing. Oh, I'm not either. And then Tobias came in, popped in and said, no, the energies here are long gone. They're gone into the other realms. Same with Sedona in the United States. Sedona, Arizona, for a long time was like the New Age capital, but the energies moved, they shifted. And yet there's other places like battlefields in particular, and places where there's been a lot of violence. The energy's still in the ground, still there.
And do you think it's like us who gonna transform this energy?
I think with the light that we bring to the planet right now, it'll cause those old energies to be released from the earth. And I think they're stuck there, literally in the earth, and also in the people that experience that. Let's say it was a battle, they bring that back for another lifetime and many lifetimes. And I think there's going to be this whole lifting, releasing of all these old energies, and it's not going to happen overnight. It'll take decades, but we're on the right track. I mean, there are enough humans right now that are truly bringing in consciousness and light. And I'm not talking about healing and love and all the rest of that. But they're bringing in light, and that's going to change everything.
Because sometimes, like even myself, I ask myself, why did I choose to be born in Iraq? And we know the situation there. Is it because I need to be the light in this area?
You've been there before, so you were inclined to go back, and yes, you chose to be back in this lifetime, bringing the light there and doing exactly what you're doing with your work.
Yeah.
And realizing not only for you it's a time of realization, but you're bringing that light for others who are ready.
But that doesn't mean we need to stuck to that area.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'll never forget, we were doing a workshop in Tel Aviv, Israel, and Tobias was channeling at the time, and somebody stood up and asked him a question and said, so, what to do about the tension in Israel and the fighting and the battling? And Tobias, who had been Jewish in his lifetime, like 2,500 years ago, said, leave Israel. Why are you still there? Why are you right in the middle of that battle? You think you have to be there to defend Israel. He said, no, leave, go beyond. And this person wasn't happy. He wanted Tobias to say something about how Israel was going to win. And he said, no, leave, because otherwise you're still in the boxing ring. You're still all in the middle of the drama. Just pack up and get out, because that region is so dense with old energy, and people keep reincarnating back there, and there's still that battle. And no, he told the person, just get up and leave.
Just leave. Yeah, exactly. It makes sense. Like for me, I left Iraq exactly 2 months before the war. And I don't think so it was a coincidence. Like I chose not to be in that energy. Yeah.
and
But
really not.
still, I'm nearby, so I'm trying to be nearby
Right.
and shine my
Yeah.
light. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So yeah, I think when we talk about the Crimson Council, it's a group of angels plus some of us, which we are humans on Earth here. When you said, or when Adama said in the Heaven Cross that the angels are leaving now, also we felt a little bit sadness, but we felt a little bit responsibility to take over, let's say. I don't know if I'm right.
No, there's always angelic beings around to assist us. They're not going to do our jobs for us, but they're assisting, and also up until recently keeping a balance of humanity and divinity, so we never would kind of totally forget our origins. The angelic beings now have left with the advent of Heaven's Cross, and now it's up to humans to take that responsibility. I would say for anybody, it's no longer saying you're part of the Crimson Council or you've got a specific job to do. Now it's about you being an embodied master and shining your light. That's the most important thing. And we no longer have our old missions, our old contracts. We're free of them now, which is a little unsettling because we're like, well, now what am I supposed to do? It's like, what do you want to do? How do you want to enjoy your life and, let your light shine out to the world?
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to live without a purpose for the human mind.
Exactly. For a little bit, and then suddenly you realize you're not under contract that you have to do something anymore. Now you're free, and now you can do what you really want to do. And maybe it is doing what you're doing right now. Maybe it's bringing you're bringing light to others, and maybe that's your passion, but you're not obligated to it. You don't have to do it anymore.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I don't want to make it long for you, but if you have anything you want to tell the people who are watching this from the Arab world or from anyone else.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on, particularly to talk to the Arab-speaking audience. And I don't have a religious background myself. I mean, not a strong religious background. I've learned over the years, as I've done so much traveling, whether they're Buddhists or Hindu or atheists. Actually, I love a good atheist because they don't have a lot of preconceived notions.
Yeah.
Other than there's no God. And it's like, okay, well, we can deal with that. Or agnostics, but we've met all sorts of people from all walks of life, Jewish, Catholic, just you name it. And even within Crimson Circle, we have people that have come from all those different backgrounds, which is beautiful because we're not like a Christian-oriented group or a Muslim-oriented group. We just are what we are.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of it, because you find even in the diversity of different cultures, different religious backgrounds, that there's a common desire to evolve the earth now, to evolve humanity, let the light shine so we can do things like ending wars and hunger and the things that are just make no sense anymore. It just doesn't make sense. We've got the technology on the planet now to feed everybody. We've got the technology that we don't have to work menial jobs anymore. And so this is the perfect time for anybody, any of your viewers and listeners, to realize it's time to shine your light. And that's no agenda. It's not saying we have to make the world like this or like that. It's simply the light allows humanity to see their highest potentials. Exactly. And that's the most important thing to do. And it takes no effort. I mean, you don't have to, I'm sure you have experienced it. Adamus calls it benching, sitting on a park benching. It doesn't take any effort. You can sit and drink your coffee and watch the nature and people walking by. it's just being in presence, and it's such a beautiful thing, and it will change the planet.
That is something I do sometimes every day. When I go to the park and just sit, whether on the bench or on the grass itself, and just be there, and you feel like your light is really what they need, because I mean, they are also tired of all these agendas and modalities, beliefs, religions. They are, I think, they reached to a point that saying, this is not really fulfilling and really not working with me. I need something more. There is something more. And these questions will open up the doors to a bigger answers. So yeah, all what we need is to be and
to shine light, and then with the rest of your life to enjoy what you enjoy doing. I mean, why not?
Absolutely.
And I would also just say in conclusion that for anyone that's ready to say no more, that they're choosing now their realization, their enlightenment on the planet, remember that it's a natural process. It doesn't mean that it happens overnight. You go through a whole experience of things, a whole series of things, but you don't have to do it yourself as a human. You're just there to experience it. It happens very naturally, and it can be actually fun.
Exactly. Enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope for everyone who is watching this, they will open up to more of who they really are. And please share the video. We need to make this to be seen and heard from everyone, because I feel they are ready now. Like maybe years before, the collective consciousness of this area, they were not so ready for this, but now I feel they are. That's why we did this beautiful interview, and thank you so much. And I think the same way I felt when I found Crimson Circle, so many people, they will feel the same. You find home and you stop the search because you find yourself, literally. I really appreciate what you, Geoffrey, and Linda. I love Linda. Her human cracks me up. I still remember one time when COVID first started and everyone was like conscious about it, and Adamas was talking about COVID like it's a consciousness virus and you don't need to be scared of it. You can breathe. COVID. Linda was like, her look in her eyes cracked me up. So yeah, I love
a lot of expression.
I really appreciate what you are doing, and I hope your light will reach to everyone.
Thank you. And thanks again for your work.
Thank you.
And Linda popped in to say hi. I've been sitting here the whole time. So thank you, and hope to see you soon. And on behalf of Linda and me and our wonderful dog Belle, aloha to everybody. Aloha is kind of like namaste, from the God within me to the God within you. Aloha.
From the beautiful Hawaii. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.